them pepper, yeah? You know them, Mac? Soulicious pepper sauce. Too hot for tech. XX Inferno. We have 2 flavor. Bring one for your friend or even your neighbor. Soulicious pepper sauce. Look on the ingredient. No fat in it. And we have spices, yes. Soulicious pepper sauce. We have the niceness. Put it in your drink and spice it up, yes. Soulicious pepper sauce. We have apron too. So worth to eat. Just right for you.
That never gets old. Oh my goodness. So today, ladies and gentlemen, for our 91st episode of Candid Conversations, we have the artist. We have Tracy Cunningham with us. She has, I believe, let me check out what page it is. Hold on. I think it's page 8. The poem from page 8 of this month's Culture Shock magazine, available online and by order, featuring on one cover Charlotte from Effects May Vary, on the other cover Kyle from Effects May Vary, a band that is in the North Toronto area. They are doing some serious things. I want to shout them out, but yeah, check them out on facebook.com/Effects May Vary. But we have another guest here that I wasn't anticipating. So, Tracy. Tracy? Hello? Oh, the sound's gone. My sound is gone. Huh. I'm going to have to reload this. Yeah. There we go. I had to reload it. She's gone.
There we
go.
Okay. There.
Okay. Tracy, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. All right. See, I told you about those gremlins. It happens every time. We are so smooth backstage.
It is all good.
All right. Awesome. Nice to have you here. I was just saying how we have your poem on page 8 of the Culture Shock magazine. If you want to read it, you can check it out. I'm going to put there you go, boom. Culture Shock issue 8 is available online and in print. I got to move this microphone down from my beard. There we go. Excellent. That's even better. Yeah. The road to success is always under construction. That's something that Lily Tomlin, you know what I mean, kind of engraved in my head.
I love her. Oh my God. Search for Signs of Intelligent Life just changed my life.
Okay. Yes. Very motivational woman. Inspirational too. Like that must have been something that I came up with like through my parents or my grandparents or something, because it was just that's one of those things, like it's one of those sayings that whenever I hit a bump in the road, it's like the road to success is always under construction, and then you just keep moving forward, because it especially in times like these, it's so easy to get sideswiped by life.
Absolutely.
All right. So, who is your guest now? Let's get to know the other.
This one?
Yes, this one right here.
All right. So this is Fancy Hopper Rose.
Okay.
She is 6 months old, and I share her with my partner. And my partner is not here right now, and she is a total like guard dog and baby. And if I leave her down, she'll bark her head off. So.
Oh my gosh, she looks like she has so much personality.
She hops. She skips. She'll take her little leg and she'll hop around, but she thinks she's big dog. Like she's total guard dog.
Oh man, that's awesome. 6 months old. That's got to be a challenge.
For sure. I like to say, like, I wasn't a huge dog person. I'm a cat person. I have 2 cats and I love them dearly. Okay. So my partner, she's a dog person, but I guess I'm a fancy person. I had Rotties growing up as a kid, but
okay,
cats are just so much more laid back.
You see, I seen a miniature pincer, and I was like, I'm not one of those guys that need a big dog. It doesn't have to be like a Doberman or like a Saint Bernard or nothing like. Give me one of them small dogs that I can throw at a mofo just in case. You know what I mean?
I know. And you know what? People are terrified of small dogs.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived with my ex, and we lived with his sister, and she had a teacup Yorkshire, and that fucking dog would run me out the door. I was terrified of it. She would nip at my ankles, literal ankle biter. She was scary, and so people are terrified of little dogs, and I guess she's doing her job, but
Small dog complex. It's got to be.
it's true.
It's
It's
got to
true.
be. Yep. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I gotta ask, what was the inspiration behind the poem "Standing on the Edge of Time"? Because like it's vast in its descriptions, but it's concise in its delivery.
Well, I just first of all want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. I really love what you're doing. I see Fallon Shaw's on. She's one of my really good friends.
Okay.
And she told me about you. And basically, I was having this conversation with my mom just today. I'm like, Mom, why do I want to sleep during the day and I want to be up at night? Why am I a night owl? Why do I work better? And, my mom, in good mom fashion, said, some people are just like that, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me feel better because I'm on this wellness journey and everybody says, get up at 8 a.m., do this, do that, do this. But that's never jived with me. And I'm a witch. I'm a seer. I'm two-spirit. And I find the night just really comes, I feel alive during the night. And they call from 12 to 3 the witching hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, Standing on the Edge of Time is actually a take on the title from my favorite book of all time, which is Women on the Edge of Time.
Okay.
So Standing on the Edge of Time is kind of a play from that. But it's basically just kind of how the witching hour is really just this rich time of creativity, and it's almost timeless. Like time slows down for me, and it's when I feel most alive, and I was just inspired to write that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've heard things like after 8 p.m. is the best time for creativity and things of that. I used to be awake at the most ridiculous times. It's like as my parents were leaving for work at like 5, 6 in the morning, I'm getting home, getting ready to go to sleep. And it wasn't until, oh my gosh, well, it's been a while now, but it wasn't until several years after that time in my life that I actually, like, it's almost like naturally adjusted. It's like there were certain things I had to do at that period of time, and until I had accomplished those things, I was always awake at that time. And then slowly started to become like, now I'm awake like, geez, it's stupid, like 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. As soon as the UV breaks through the clouds,
Yeah,
I'm awake, and it's just like I can't do nothing but whatever comes to me at the time. And it's interesting. That's what kind of caught me about it, like the concept of time and how to utilize it.
that's
Um,
right.
yeah, so that's why I was interested in it. And I want to thank you for contributing to the magazine, because like it's not, yeah, that's the time it was. It was my 20s when I was actually up at stupid hours of the day. Yeah, I can relate, Fallon, definitely. So yeah, there's so much about time, and it's like if we don't, I have this one lyric. It's, oh, I can't remember it right now. Time's the quickest to dip. If one lets it slip, the consequences are a mess. So
Wow.
yes. That's in a song I did with this group SBE, Smooth Boys Empire, and I find that it, like times like these kinds of conversations, I use them to learn more about life through another person's eyes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's interesting the kinds of things that could come up, like, because I've never really had anybody on here who delved into that aspect of time so specifically. So when do you find is your best time of the day, like your best functional time of the day?
I just got chills when you asked that. So my jam is from like 11 to 3 in the morning.
Okay.
And I have to like honor that now. You know, for so long, I thought there was just something wrong with me, but I'm really creative during that time. I do my writing at that time. I do my craft at that time. I do a lot of meditation. It's just, you know, spirits are at that time of night. As Indigenous people, we say, like, you're not supposed to whistle at night because it's supposed to bring the bad spirits. But I don't know. For me, I can handle it and I love it. There's just a darkness to it. It's like when the whole world is like sleeping and you're like, oh, I'm up and I'm doing something. But I just come alive.
There's another saying, and like maybe this is, I guess it could be true in this instance where, because I believe it too, because like I said, I'm awake when people are going to sleep and asleep when people are waking up, or like as that kind of that transition is happening, like I stir through the night, and there's a saying that you are awake when you are alive in people's dreams, you are awake in reality.
Hey, I've heard that. Yep.
So I often wonder if that is the situation, because I don't know if I call myself a spiritual person. I think I could consider myself a spiritual person. I mean, divine achievements bring life's opportunity carrying knowledge. Things happen to teach those willing to learn. That's what that affirmation means. So in that sense, yeah, I have a universal belief. Like I believe beyond belief, in the sense that even to the point that I'm at right now, I wasn't here 10, 12 years ago. And I didn't have podcasting wasn't a thing 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
So I couldn't have seen myself in this position. But knowing that I saw myself in a forward position, like somewhere better than where I was, this opportunity became present, and I utilized it to further provide opportunities for others where possible. And like it's not the biggest outlet, but like, you know what I mean? It's an outlet. And that's sometimes all people need is have one person hear what they're saying, and that'll change the way things are going for more than one person. Like
Absolutely.
I know when I see someone smiling, it makes me smile. In turn, I smile at somebody else. Usually I'm the first person smiling. I got a big smile. It's crazy. It's like my cheeks almost disappear under my eyes. There it is. You see what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So like, and you know, I like to share that with people, because I used to walk around, and when I saw someone grumpy, I'd tell them to smile. But I read something that taught me better than that. So I just smile at people.
Right.
So like, what's your, I don't want to say party trick, but how do you bring people out of their mind now?
Oh, well, usually I can sense what somebody's thinking or feeling. And it's easy for me to kind of pull out what somebody's thinking or feeling. I can pick up on vibes right away. I'm a reader and a seer, so I see and I hear and I pick up on that stuff. So for me, it really is about just picking up what people are going through. And people say I'm a great listener, and I'm great at talking and being there for people. I'm working towards my master's in counseling psychology. So I think that's how I bring it to the table. I always say I'm not a funny person. I will, but when I am funny, it catches me by surprise, because I love laughter and I love when people are funny. But that's not my gift. My gift is helping people come to terms with what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and how to process that.
Okay. All right. So,
well, on top of that, and being a reader and a seer, that's who I am.
So how would you now, Okay, now these are troubling times with the pandemic and everybody being inside, and you know what I mean, the limitations, the restrictions, and all of that. How do you suggest, or what do you suggest as a coping mechanism for these kinds of, I want to call them, I don't want to call them dire straits, but we're on the third wave over here.
We are.
You know what I mean? So,
You know
like,
what I like? Yeah, what I like to say is, you know what, you could be atheist. You can be whatever you want. My walk in life is going to be different than your walk in life, but I tell my son this. He's 10, and so that's the age of awareness, this preteen age where he's becoming aware. And he asked me, like, Mommy, what's the meaning of life? And it just hit me. The meaning of life is to find meaning in life. So, you know, to get through these times, you have to hold on to something that means something to you. How do you make sense of this? What do you think? How do you find meaning in this pandemic? Where do you sit? Like, let's say you're out of a job right now. Where do you sit with that? What can you do to make little steps to make yourself feel better? So coping mechanisms for me, I mean, I teach everybody, if you could just close your eyes and put your right hand on your heart and focus on your breathing. And people always say breathe, but it's true. You just put your hand on your chest and you breathe in through your nose and out your mouth, and it centers you. Some people don't like the concept of spirituality, and especially in these times, because it's like, how can God or somebody make shit like this happen? You know, but the reality is you got to find meaning in it.
If we're gonna get spiritual for a minute, I don't know why. Like, it's like my child blaming me for everything that I did wrong, but not accepting or appreciating anything I did right. Like, don't blame me for the bad if you can't blame me for the good, kind of thing. But like, you're right. Not everybody takes to spirituality. Some people like the scientific approach, but even then, like, you can't see a Wi-Fi signal, but you believe it's there. So,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah, I don't like to push it, but you know, I don't like to push it because, you know, I'm friends with a lot of people that are like, Tracy, I love you. You're into a lot of woo, but I just don't believe it. And that's okay. But, you know, then you got to do what's going to make sense to you, and you got to try to figure out, you don't want to get to a point where you're like, life is pointless and life is meaningless. You know, that gets, you know, that can take you down some really harsh emotions of like depression and anxiety. And so if I can just say one thing, is you be out in nature then, and, you know, center yourself, because, you know, I definitely understand that people don't get it and don't want to get it. And that's, I totally, because I do believe in nothingness. There's two polarities. There's everything and nothingness. And, you know, in my profession, what I'm going through is very scientifically based.
Yeah, I wanted to touch base on that. You're pursuing your master's in
counseling psychology.
That has got to be like one of the pinnacles of caring. Like, that, you know what I mean? That's basically, from my understanding, trying to get a better understanding of individual situations and circumstances and providing a resolution with the coping mechanisms to avoid them presenting themselves again in the future.
That's right.
That is stellar, because not everybody takes the time, you know, or has the time to do that. And your master's, that's what, 8, 9, 10 years in now?
I'm doing it in 5.
You're doing it in 5. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing it in 5. It's incredibly challenging, but my end goal is to do something, like, I hope that I can become a charitable organization, or do things, do it in a way where it's accessible to people. Because I find, you know, I see a therapist. I think everybody should have a therapist, even when your life is good. But I think that it needs to be more accessible, and it needs to be, I've had horror stories from therapists, and I think it needs to be accessible, and it also needs to be tailored to an individual, because we are all so different, and I honor every single walk of life, even little, that's a big subject,
Yeah, it really is. So when it comes to the psychology and the different creeds, cultures, I mean, like, you have some cultures where they're loud and boisterous, and you have other cultures where they're quiet and reserved, and then
That's
you
right.
have situations where you take a loud and boisterous culture and you put them around a quiet, reserved culture, and instead of trying to understand, hey, that's how the person is because of where they came from, there's an effort to try and change that psychology and natural, and correct me where I'm wrong, the psychology that is natural to one's behavior is harder to change than the ones they're learning.
Yeah, for sure, because they're called core beliefs. Your
Yes.
core beliefs are your social conditioning from your family, from society. So what we tell ourselves, what we are, our core beliefs are very hard to change than rather what you learn. That makes a lot of sense.
That was a big conflict with me and one of my previous business partners. While I have a psychologist or a potential psychologist on the line, I might as well talk about it. This is Candid Conversations, episode 91. Yeah, but that was a big conflict between me and one of my previous business partners, where I was providing, like, I was giving everything I could by way of, my energy, my time, my resources to further the business, and it was all being taken, but it wasn't appreciated. It was expected. Right. And in my belief
Mm-hmm.
system, it's like, if you're doing something for me, like, okay, Jay's behind the scenes right now, and he's doing something for me. I appreciate what he's doing to help keep this run smoother, and I offer that appreciation, and do what I can to make sure when he's doing something that it can run smoother. But I wasn't getting that kind of. It was like me sitting in your position, like me sitting in your house that you built, and your position of power, so to speak, and then talking down to you who built all of the things that I'm using to make myself better.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
that happened for too long, and I just had to say, you know what, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So,
Yeah.
and that's something I
Yeah.
think people need to feel better with doing, cutting off, or like cutting off the
That's
problem.
so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so, you just hit something, and that's something that a lot of people talk about now, which is boundaries.
Yes.
And so cutting off people or ending relationships is part of boundaries. It's important. I'm learning about like expectations. So not to have expectations from people, because then it leaves you to be, like, to get upset when something doesn't follow through. But it's important that when you're not getting your needs met, to reevaluate a relationship.
And I have this one saying, and I think it's what's damning me right now, is that even Satan was an angel.
Oh my God, I was just watching something. It's so true. It is so true.
uh yeah,
So
Jason.
just to like touch on that, I was watching this show, and so I'll just give you like a spiritual aspect, like in angels and demons. Well, somebody said that angels and demons actually work together, that
Yeah.
they're the same. And I always said that evil and good, or good and bad, are of the same coin.
Same.
So yeah, so like we all have that positive and negative inside of us,
Oh
and
yeah.
how we express that, comes in different ways. But what they said was, like, when you have an angel, like a sign, like you're supposed to do that, or like, you know, kind of like what you're going through with your friend. And like, I'm sure you got those nudges, like, end this relationship, I need to say something, you know.
Oh my God! Like, no, if you only understood, like, my wife, and like, she is my measuring stick. She's like from day one, but like, because like she has a pleasant disposition with society, I I kind of just, I'm like, okay, maybe you're just. And then there was one situation. Yes, there was one situation that presented itself. We talked on Tuesday. We said we're not going to have this argument again. Wednesday we had the same argument. I have never seen a more ferocious woman than when she's, listen to me, gentlemen, when the woman says she doesn't want to have the conversation again, don't have the conversation again, okay? Because the conversation came up and my girl came downstairs and just ended the conversation right then and there. And then it was, oh, she didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do what you did. Oh, she didn't have to. No, you have to leave it alone. She didn't. I said, leave it alone, because one thing, oh gosh, you could talk the most amount of trash about me, but say something about my wife.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was just in that state, and it was just like, come on, we're like, I can't give anymore. Yeah, I can't, like, I can only give so much. I would literally give you the shirt off my back if the situation warrants, but if I'm going to be cold, just, you know, understand, you could have dressed for the weather.
Yeah, you know, everybody has their limits.
Yes.
And it was really nice about that, you know, you be candid about your argument with your wife. It is beautiful. She had a limit, but she expressed her limit, which is really, really healthy.
I respected this. Oh my God. It was one of the hottest things I've seen her do in her 13-year relationship. Like, she came downstairs and she put, like, it was an argument over money, okay? And I was trying to leave money in an account, and he wanted me to take my money out of the account. I didn't want to do it because I know how I am with money. I like to leave it where I can see it, but I don't want to touch it until I need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was the argument. And then he's like, oh, he said, after, oh my gosh, the situation, it's so vivid in my mind. But anyways, I was blamed for taking food out of his child's mouth, and I said, no, I have yeah, that same look on your face right there. Meanwhile, literally the day before, my daughter had like a meal that was on there, and we gave it to him just because, you know, everybody else had eaten, but he hadn't. But that's neither here nor there. I don't care how, like, I'll feed whoever, I don't care. But the fact that he said I took food out of his daughter's mouth, she came downstairs, she said, yeah, here's your money, stick it up your ass, you motherfucker. And he was like, he got so crotchety, and I was just like, no, you can't come into my house, sit in my chair at my computer, talk down to me, and then blame me for doing something that you literally just did without no recourse. Like, no, that's not.
Yeah.
And then sorry, I just had to get that off of my chest, because a lot of people think they can go around and bring me up and me not discuss them. That's not how it works. This is candid conversations. We talk about whatever comes to mind.
That's right.
So
I love it.
Thank you for helping me like deal with that situation right there. Okay, Jay's in the building. You know something's up.
Wow. No, my problem is when people say that they talk the most talk and then run and cry when you question what they say.
So it's the confrontation.
Yeah, when they're in the wrong and you try to resolve the issue, then they turn around and start screaming that you're picking on them.
That is total ego story. That is total, like,
cynical.
Yeah, when we cry and it's that child inside of us that we try to cover up and make that child within, like, safe when we lash out, and a lot of people don't like confrontation, you know, but there's this whole
lot of deflecting.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was a valid
So,
question, and then all of a sudden it was yelling, screaming, crying that everyone's picking on them. It's great.
well, a lot of that is being caught, and a lot of that is you recognizing a pattern of behavior in somebody, and they don't like that you saw that.
I want you to be my Dr. Phil. I want you to come on like I want you to come
I would love it.
come on.
We could have like fill up a whole month and a half just on the last month.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Some of the
like
stuff
those,
we've been through, it's insane.
If you look at people that are really just wounded children that are expressing themselves and reacting to the world through their ego,
yep.
you see people so differently and you have compassion for them. Because
yeah, and that's where it was. I felt bad because it's just like, how can you be in such a state of how can you be on a pedestal but still have such a fragile psychology?
Yeah.
See, I have a saying that I follow, and I learned it the hard way because I got sick about 13 years ago. And the side effect of me getting sick is I had to deal with a chemical depression. And it took me about 3 years to come to the realization that the best solution was not to lie to myself, because if I can lie to myself, I can lie to anybody else around me.
That's good. That's really good self-awareness. That's amazing.
As soon as I stopped lying to myself about my mental illness, things were getting better.
You know, this is Candid Conversations. I have a mental illness too. My colonial diagnosis is schizoaffective disorder. You know, I'm passionate about psychology. I'm passionate about mental health. I think there's a lot about mental health that we don't understand. I think that the social constructs, colonialism, is a big part of why we're so mentally ill.
It's so true.
We don't get time when we go through grief. I mean, life doesn't say, you know what, you need to take care of yourself.
Well, if you work, you're only allowed 3 days off, and then you have to go back to work
for the whole year.
That's insanity.
For the whole year. And like, that's the thing. Like, I myself dealing with my my list of psychological complications is like, these kinds of things actually help. It's a little selfish on my own part, but like, I get to see, okay, this is happening to me. Do other people react to this the same way I'm reacting to this? If not, what difference is there? How can I react better to it? Where can I change, or what can I do to have a better response, or cope with this better, kind of thing? So it does help. And I find a lot, as long as the conversation is open without judgment, there's a lot of help that can come from just simply listening.
Oh yeah. A lot of like when we're having like feelings inside, like, I mean, just to be like quite honest, like I was feeling like down all of a sudden today. And what you do is you do like a body scan. Where am I feeling that sadness? Where am I feeling that grief? It's right here. Well, where is that coming from? Well, I'm going to be menstruating in a couple of days. So you could put like a name to it. Okay, you know, I'm feeling that. But also my partner and I are fighting. So putting names, actually being like consciously aware of where your feelings are coming from, so that your feelings don't take over. So yeah, me and my partner are doing really bad right now. But naming where that emotion is coming from actually made me feel better. Like, okay, this is why I'm sad. This is a literal biochemical reaction to what's going on in my life. This is all just chemicals. This is just bodily. This doesn't mean that this is my life. This doesn't mean that my life is shitty. This is just what's going on in my life.
Okay. Yeah, so identifying the psychology that is affecting the emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. It's literally when you're in the thick of things, like especially when you start to feel anger, like, oh God, I can feel it in my chest, I can feel it in my face, I can feel myself. Yeah.
Anger is not an emotion. It's something that when you can't deal with the emotion that you're dealing with, that's what you resort to.
Yeah. It's also a survival mechanism.
Because usually anger is frustration.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
In my opinion. Like from what I've gone through and dealt with, it's like, am I really mad or am I just frustrated because somebody's doesn't want to listen to what I'm trying to say?
Well, and that's the thing, is a lot of anger comes from not being seen or heard, you know. That's where a lot of anger comes from, is not feeling seen or heard.
Yep. It's like I have to say, like, there's a lot of people who went down a dark road, and what would they have done if someone had shined the light in their direction?
Yeah.
You know, so, like,
And what also helps is kind of like, we're all in the same boat here. Like, we're all really not that separate from one another. I understand that there are groups that are oppressed. Women are oppressed, Black people are oppressed, Indigenous people are oppressed, gay people are oppressed. So there is a systematic
we cover
problem.
we cover all those bases in this one conversation.
Yeah. You know, I can't imagine, you know, what that feels like. And that is separate from a whole other feeling angry, like a systematic oppression. That is cultural. So what I'm really interested is cultural psychology, because
that's a dangerous one.
It is. It really is.
That
because
triggers everything.
It does, and it's separate from individual, because when you're oppressed culturally, you have an added layer of how to go on with your life.
Well, here's the funny thing I find is that pretty much everybody in the world is oppressed in one way or another. Let it be by your religion, your the race you are, the way you're brought up, the money you
but
make.
the way it's portrayed in the media and actually acted out in society varies greatly based on certain
mental illness is one of the biggest oppressed things around. Even though everyone talks about it, there's still
it's
just
stigmatized.
just breathe and get over it. Just keep on going. You'll be fine. Well, sometimes you're not okay. Sometimes you're not able to. And some days you do just need to sit there and just not deal with anybody. Like, but
well, if that's your way of dealing, if that's your way of dealing with it, everybody has different ways of dealing with it. Some people like to be around people when they're not feeling
but the stigma with it is just get up and get going. Ignore it, push it down, keep going.
That's terrible.
That's what the normal has been until recent conversations, I'd say in the last 5 years even.
We need a cultural reset. We need a cultural reset. I mean, the way society is built is not conducive to people of color, to people with mental health issues, to people that are LGBTQ2SIA+. It doesn't work for these type of people. It doesn't work anymore. I'm like on this, like to wake people up, like a complete, like, maybe COVID is this dismantling of society or what it is. I don't know. Probably not. I'm kind of with you, because history repeats itself, you know, like
it repeats itself. It just shows that it's the generation of me. That's what I like to call this generation right now. What's going on right now is the generation of me.
It's me first. The way they drive, the way they talk, the way they act, the way
the newest catchphrase that I hear now is, I'll take care of my health. Okay, then please resign your global health care that you have in Canada. If you're going to take care of your health, then why are you still latched onto a system that is based on the whole population contributing?
Yeah.
You get sick, I have to help take care of you.
There's a lot of selfish people in the world, and they don't realize that their selfish nature is creating some of the complications. Like, I mean, realistically speaking, if it wasn't for the pursuit of money and they had shut down the country the way they should have, we would not be on our third wave of something that is just mutating and just enveloping society.
Well, and our
It's-
small businesses are dying. Like this
Yeah.
isn't working. This isn't
No.
working.
Nope.
Look
My
at the
God.
mental health crises that are arising. You know, like there needs to be a complete like overhaul of everything, and we need to start over. We need Black people in power. We need Indigenous people in power. We need, because we are really all systematic oppression and systematic stigmatization, being stigmatized makes you feel like it's us versus them, or we're all different, but
And that's
really,
what everybody's
Yeah.
pushing right now. The me.
but we're
I'm
not.
different than you.
We are
and
not that
we're all the
different.
same. And actually, a lot of people have a lot of the same thoughts, the same mental disabilities, the same problems. They just
Same problems.
They just don't know how to say it.
they've just been taught to look at it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
I don't think we're ever going to see it. I kind of think that we're not going to learn anything from this. I think it'll be on an individualized case that we make some changes in our life. But unfortunately, you know, it was kind of like with 9/11, where everybody came together and there was just like this hushness across nations where
They
everybody
had
was
one
like,
villain to go after.
yeah.
That's what
And
happened.
we all, yeah. Then it was just like business as usual after a while. And I feel like that's what is going on with COVID, where we have this opportunity to say, hey, look, we really can work from home. We really can have, we don't have to work as many hours. We work better when we're in our own environments. Most people I know love this working at home and being able to have their own schedule. There's some people that don't, which I can honor and understand.
I gotta answer this right quick. So
Yeah.
y'all continue talking. I'm just
No
gonna back
worries.
up.
Well, we can have a conversation. This is kind of
Yeah.
stuff I've studied on my own, and then my own self-realization. Like I said, when I got sick, I literally lost almost a half a kidney while I was at work.
Wow.
I had an aneurysm inside my kidney, and it just damn near killed me.
Oh my gosh.
And then going from 60 hours a week working to nothing, I was able to hide my chemical depression. And then it came light, and it was solid 3 years. I just ignored it and tried to keep going, and it almost destroyed my family and everything. Until I'm like, I gotta, I need to take care of this properly. I need to stop lying to myself, and so on and so forth. And actually, a year ago, I actually had to commit my child to a mental ward for 2 weeks because she hit to a point where she would just lie to everybody. And I'm like, you got to be truthful to yourself, or you're gonna end up dead. That's truly where you're going. And we had a good heart to heart. She's like, what should I do? I'm like, okay, we're gonna take you to the hospital. You're gonna tell them this is what's going on in your head, that everything you told me, so that way, you need at least a 72-hour assessment. Well, she ended up being there for 2 weeks and came out much better, clearer head, and she just had a baby.
Oh gosh. So she has a postpartum like thing going on?
Now she does. Like we're helping her with that now.
Well, I can really relate to that. First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing. Like, that's huge. I had postpartum psychosis actually, and I got put in the hospital.
My wife went through it 4 times. Postpartum.
Yeah.
So what did you do, Tracy?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Unfortunately, there's no space. Like, if you go in like a tribal culture, when a woman has a baby, you have the whole village coming to take care of her, the baby, and the husband. But when we are inundated with having to keep on going, kind of like what you said, that you were working 60 hours a week and you had that kidney aneurysm, and all of a sudden you're just like nothing. No,
I'm still here.
Society doesn't give us the space to be able to heal.
See, and that's where my family, when it comes to that, like we have a big family and we all believe that it takes a village.
Good.
So when my oldest had her child, my wife went there for like 2 weeks and just lived there and helped with whatever was needed. Anytime I talk to my daughters after the baby's born, I'm always asking about how she's doing, because I can see I can hear the child screaming, so I know the child's good, child's laughing, I see pictures, healthy. I I know the child's being taken care of. How's the mother doing? As soon as she called
Mhm.
me after birth, I'm like, how are you? Well, don't you want to hear about? No, I want to hear about you. I know the baby's fine, or you wouldn't be calling me. So how are you doing?
Yeah,
How are you feeling? How,
yeah,
the mother's just as
absolutely.
important as the child is.
Well, I've always it's been said the mother has done it without the child. The child never does it without the parents. So yeah, it's very true. The relationship between the like parents, not just the mother, but definitely the
Well,
mother
that's where
and the
the
child
sadness
is
kicks in for
important.
the mothers. Everyone's going, oh, the child, the child, the child, the child. Meanwhile, the mother just went through this massive traumatic stress.
Yeah, that's why that's you're talking to the guy who goes around and congratulates the parents on the kid's birthday.
Yep.
So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I see parents all the time out in public, and then they have their little balloons and stuff with their kids and everything, and I'm just like, oh, is it their birthday? They're like, yeah. I said, congratulations for getting them to what, 11, 12? Oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because I just different. Like everybody deserves some praise for something. Like if you wake up, congratulations. You know what I mean? You have another day. What's that? You're making breakfast? Good on you, mofo. That is excellent. That's the most important meal of the day.
Exactly.
Like
Yes, like if you cook a meal one time in a day, to me, that is success. Because let me tell you something. I hate cooking. I'm really good at it, but it takes time.
It's a 2-minute
And,
phone call to have
you
something
know,
delivered.
exactly.
I know. But, you know, if
Speaking,
you just get out of if you wake up, you are doing
The day's already started in a positive.
yep.
exactly, exactly. And
Okay.
I'm really thankful that you shared your kind of like your plight, like being sick like that, and what happened with your
Um,
daughter. Like it's
well, my
amazing.
oldest, and she still talks about it now. She's had now 3 miscarriages, and that's what got her into being a counselor. Her last miscarriage that I was with her with, we were actually at Canada's Wonderland,
Mm.
and I was there with my wife, my daughter, my grandson, and a friend of ours' daughter, and they were all on a little kiddie ride together, and that's when the miscarriage happened. So
Wow.
for the next 3 hours, I sat with her in a food court in the middle of the kids section of Canada's Wonderland with my daughter to try and help her get through that, which kick-started her to become a counselor. First, she was going to do it for women with miscarriages, and she really kind of got bullied out of it in a sense because there's really nothing there for women when it comes to miscarriaging and dealing with the mental after effects.
Mm.
So it was kind of like, it's great you're doing it, but there's no job for you. So she kind of shifted a little bit, and now she's working with, because we're Indigenous, she's working with a at-risk youth Indigenous counselor. She's going for her master's in it currently. She already has her bachelor's, so now she's going for her
That's
master's,
awesome.
and she's already planning on thinking of going into a doctorate for it.
That's
Wow.
awesome. That's so
So
great. That's
Triumph
what
out
I'm
of
hoping to do. That's what I'm hoping to do to get my doctorate. That's great.
it's a
But
long process, but she's learning more and more, and it just seems to be bothering her even more because there's two sides to every coin, and she's learning things that have been hidden that she didn't know about, that was actually on the positive side that nobody talks about, that has been done. It's been kind of buried where only the negatives coming up, but then there's the negative side that gets buried that never comes up, and everything else is I applaud her because it is such a mental stress trying to deal with what she is. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's life. Just keeps throwing things at people that I guess it feels it can handle it, but the matter at hand is just, it's like people just need to treat each other better. That's
Well,
what it
no
all
word of a
boils
lie.
down.
Today, when I went for my shot, it puts on there if you're First Nations or not. And in the First Nation questions, it even says prefer not to answer. I still click prefer not to answer because there's a lot of things I lose as soon as I admit I am.
You hit the nail on the head. I was hospitalized with, God, like this story is so long, but I'm going to keep it short. For 3 months, I was sick with appendicitis, and they just wouldn't take the fucking thing out. And for 12 days, I was septic, and Indigenous services got put on my file. And it's like, once they find out you're Indigenous, you just get treated like absolute fucking shit.
Only until 2018, when an Indigenous woman could marry a white man or another race man without losing her status. Every time before that, she would lose her status.
Yeah, that's insane to me. I hate status. This is like a whole other subject. Like to feel like, to be like, to say that you're federally recognized, I could give two fucking shits.
But you're still not recognized.
No, you're not. And you know what's sad is it's within the Indigenous community too. It's like this I'm status, you're not status division. When it's like, honestly, do you know how privileged you are if you are status? Because what about, assimilation and has created this separateness. Like what happened to my family was my great-grandmother is Cherokee, full blood. And I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, I think I'm Cherokee. No, I really am. I'm from the States.
I'm Cherokee and Cree.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I am Cherokee from Cherokee Eastern Band, Georgia. And it was my grandfather that was statist. But because my grandmother kidnapped my mom and took her to Chicago, she lost all contact with that family. My mom still to this day, like she doesn't talk to her mom, and he since has died. But because she didn't get status, her mom didn't care. Like my grandmother, she's Irish. She's, she didn't think like, oh, I should get status for my daughter. So now, yes, I have the information to get status, but then my mom has to get status first. And then it's a lot of red tape just to prove who the fuck you are.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I refused to get mine way back when, and my daughter yells and screams at me because I have not done it. But also in Canada, when I could have got my status, the residential schools were still going full bore. And that scared the crap out of me. And at that point, I wouldn't have been able to vote or nothing.
I'm really glad we're talking because I feel that so strongly in my bones that I don't want to get status. I think it's not important to me too. I don't want to feel like I have to prove who I am, even though I can, even though I have the documentation and I can do it. Why?
I have the documentation, the DNA confirm. I'm calling the kettle black. I look different than what somebody of my nationalities should look.
Wait, y'all said black. Hold on, I feel like I can jump in here.
Sorry, Block man. Sorry.
Nah, I'm just like, wow, look at these people relating on such a high level. Let me just
here's the funny thing. I'm also
have them have their conversation. You know what I mean? Like,
my namesake is Pakistani.
It's what it is.
So, and I look like this. So, me trying to say I'm something other than what I look, people really look down on me.
I know, and it's so hard. I hate that too. And, I think about Michael Jackson, honestly, because if you looked at me when I was a baby up until about 17 years old, I was very dark. And I'm like, why am I turning white? And I'm like, and I'm looking online. It's a thing as you get, I'm 40 now. As you get older, you turn lighter.
My wife has that disease, and so does one of my daughters.
Yeah. So I'm like, did Michael Jackson really have that disease? And I was like, fucking like denying that the whole time because it really happened to me.
My daughter and my wife both have vitiligo.
Yeah.
My daughter every year makes a post of where she'll draw the vitiligo in, and her arms and that look like maps. Once a year she does it.
There you go.
Trace it.
Yeah. So I am white passing. But I still like, I'm very much into the indigenous community. But yeah, there's that whole, like, I'm white passing, so feeling like you're not indigenous enough, you know, to even
And
be.
that actually, that's a stigma that happens on the reserves.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, that is a thing. I know. Yeah, I know.
And I know
I know.
that I know there's also a similarity with the black culture too, with
I've been
mixed race
called
people.
whitewash all my life just because I speak in an educated manner. It's
Well, not
ridiculous.
just that. There's also mixed race
Oh
babies
yeah,
that,
there's
like,
there's the darkness, like the light skin, dark skin dynamic, the mixed kids. Yeah, but I don't know. It's out here. It's a different dynamic because like we're few. We don't look like most of the people out here, so it's just interesting to see how they react. It's like I when I'm walking in the grocery store and kids craning their neck looking backwards like they ain't never seen a brother my size or stature before. It's ridiculous. But I
Yeah.
laugh. I laugh because, it's not their fault. They don't know any better. So, how can I hold them responsible for their parents' ignorance? It's just
it's not
mm,
bred, it's taught.
mm-hmm. It does. We're not born racist or prejudiced. They learn it. Oh, don't play with them, and then you say don't play with them enough times, and the major thing that stands out is whatever the kid
Them.
sees. So exactly,
Them.
and then becomes, you know what I mean, more than just that person. And then you start looking with judgment towards everybody you see that looks like them, and it's just like, Smith. Yeah,
Like,
it's.
that's a word I don't like in the English language. Them.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be hurtful. It could be demeaning.
yeah.
Yeah. And, and in the same token, there's, non-binary people who use the, them to recognize maybe, you know, both masculine and feminine, or just are non-binary. And I can honor and appreciate that pronoun, but I do understand what you're saying, that them is completely like, there's this air of separateness,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very
It's
true.
amazing on how much a little word can hurt somebody without meaning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what we. Oh boy, I'm telling you.
Me and Block have had quite a few conversations about many things that we've just never bothered to do on air because
Yeah.
it could cause a lot of problems because, individual thought's something that's lost.
Well, I read this paper about the effects of language, and just like how women, and men, and how different, just how we put like a masculine spin on things.
Well, look how everything's changed in 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just even look at yourself 20 years ago. How much
Yeah.
that's
Oh
changed
God, I
just in 20
know.
years from your mental state from, say, like we've had this discussion many times, from 18 to 28. Look at the differences there. And then you look
Yeah.
at, then when you hit 38, look at the differences there to the 20 years prior, how much that's changed on your mental state, on how you think and how you communicate and everything else.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to do. I try to look back and go, okay, well, how was I 10 years ago? Well, I think I've changed better. Well, this part needs a little more improvement. It's that whole not lying to yourself to me.
I always
Yeah.
reflect. I do a weekly reflection, usually on Friday. So I'm not putting out some false impression on the online when I do my show. It's good. It's good to do that because you're presenting your best self. It's like one thing my dad recommended that we do, and it was awkward at first, but he was like, okay, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror. And I'm like, I can look myself in the mirror. He's like, no, you have to look yourself in the mirror, like strip down to nothing and look at yourself in the mirror. And before you find fault with anybody else, make right the fault that you have with yourself. And if you can find fault with someone else by the time you're done with yourself, then you're just looking too hard.
Then you're looking for an excuse.
Yeah.
That's why
Well,
that's why my motto is don't lie to yourself. If you can lie to yourself, you can lie to everybody else. If you can
yeah.
be honest with yourself, you can be honest with anybody.
That has like been the theme of like since I've hit 40 is honesty and integrity and authenticity. And I think it's really important.
Fully. That's what my kids have asked me. What's the best thing you've ever could give someone? Don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
And then the other day I had an incident where like I've been off medication for a while and I'm like, I think I need to go back on it. My doctor's
Hold
like,
on,
why do you think that? I said, well, if I can't tell my kids to be honest to themselves and not lie to anybody, I can't do that. I have to follow what I say. You know what I mean? Like I have to be honest that I think I'm having some trouble. Talking's not working. I think I may need something to help me, bring me back to where I need to be.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah, for
doctor kind of
sure.
looked at me and went, okay. Like the first time I started talking about my mental health with my doctor was, she's like, well, do you have suicidal thoughts? I looked her dead in the face and said, no worse than anybody else.
Yeah.
She looked at me, she goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't care if you're rich, poor, have everything, have nothing. Everybody thinks of it. It's human nature.
I agree 100%.
But how people deal with it is how honest they are to themselves. If they can
That's
go
true.
talk to somebody, then you can sort it out.
Absolutely.
If you can't talk about yourself, you're going to bury yourself in your own lies, which is going to lead you down a very dark path.
Absolutely. I think that you hit like a really good point there. That's really, it's true. When people do talk about like wanting to kill themselves and being really scared about it, one of my first reactions is, hey, honey, everybody has.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
The hesitation's for a reason. That's because you don't want to. You just don't know how to deal with something and you don't know how to verbalize it.
And I like to say that people don't really want to kill themselves. They just want to kill the pain.
Yeah.
They just want that pain to stop because you can actually feel it in your chest, in your
Let
heart.
it be by suicide, alcohol, drugs. It's somebody's gonna find. You're gonna find how like everyone has an addiction in their life. It's just what it is. Some people smoke, some people drink, some people do hard drugs, some people collect things. I make music. That's how I cope.
Well, some people are even addicted to exercise and addicted to, being super healthy, like going overboard.
Oh, yeah. Addictions come in so many different forms.
Yep. And they could be as mild as drinking, too much water a day to
running.
Addicted
Running's
to
a big
love,
addiction.
addicted to compliments, addicted to
self-loathing.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that there is people out there that are not happy unless they're making other people miserable.
Oh, I know. I know people like that, fam.
And I know people that are addicted to lying to themselves.
I don't know about that.
Fake personas. The internet's a wonderful and also a horrible thing all at once.
See, that's the thing. Like I have a persona, but I can't even say it's fake because I'm about my community. So you know what I mean? Like I think there's people who enlarge their ego for a good reason, and there's people who are just egotistical and it's destructive. You know what I mean? Like
if I was go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, like, if I was walking around beating my chest, like, yeah, this is me. It's all me. Look at me doing all this stuff. What's up? You know what I mean? It'd be one thing, but then, that would take away from what I'm actually trying to do, which is highlight other people. We do have another guest here.
Love you. Sorry, my wife was just checking on me and making sure I'm okay.
You just got wifed.
Yes, well, I just had a needle that, I'm allergic to most vaccines and immunizations.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. You got.
If it wasn't for my wife, I'd be dead by now. Guarantee you.
Oh my gosh, I don't know where I'd be. I'm not even trying to find out.
Okay. Margaret in?
Yeah, we're gonna bring in Margaret Konopacki. She is the founder of the Bird Song Foundation.
Do we have it in the captions still?
No, we don't.
My God. There. I'm sorry. I've been so slack. I've been so busy with the birth of my grandchild and this shit.
I had the magazine and I had the podcast, so we're gonna bring her in. Hold up. All right. Hello.
Hi.
One of my favorite
I
people
have
to
to
talk
use
to.
the right hand. It's reversed, right? It's like a mirror.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It's kind of trippy. Like, wait,
Hi,
hold
my
on.
friends. I'm Maggie. My friends call me Maggie. They started calling me that in the United States. I think it was the influence of the Rod Stewart song.
Okay,
Yeah,
Maggie.
in Canada, it was a lot more corporate. I was Margaret.
Uh,
Anyways, hi. Thanks for inviting me to join your podcast. I feel very honored, and I'll let you ask the questions. And I feel blessed that you give a shit. Am I
oh,
allowed to swear?
Yes, you can
yeah.
say whatever you
Yeah.
want, my dear. Same as
Speak
last time. It's a
freely.
pleasure to have you
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
It,
I try not to swear, but sometimes it
it,
cuts to the chase, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a way to be descriptive. A quick way to be descriptive. So,
Yeah.
we
It,
have Tracy Cunningham in here as well. I know
Hi.
you've met Jay
Hi.
before. Yeah. So, how are you? What's new?
Well, it's like everybody talks about COVID and you try not to talk about it because there's more to life than being in a pandemic, right? Unless you're in palliative care, then that's all you're thinking about. But life goes on and is very vibrant out there. So I'm trying to tap into the vibrancy of life, not just the negativity of, it's almost like if you study Buddhist monks, when they get up 3 o'clock in the morning, between 3 and 5 a.m., it's like there's less negativity because everyone seems to be sleeping. And
Well,
so you don't feel quite as much of this kind of buzz of negativity. And a lot of it has to be there. Like, I don't need to preach to the choir to this group of people that, we have a very messed up world in so many ways. And in other ways, Mother Nature just shrugs herself off and she's fine, or he's fine.
yeah,
Or,
yeah,
the world will survive us. So how am I doing? I
yeah.
have really, really good days when I'm very on task. And then I have not so good days where I feel, I have to reach out to people. I find that really helps me is to pick up the phone to someone that's not doing very well, and somehow it's almost like when I'm trying to lift their spirit up, it lifts my spirit. It's kind of
That
reaction,
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
love to hear
and
that.
and hence, the Birdsong Foundation is based on that principle that, as you know, David, and my son's name was David, but
Yes.
there isn't a bigger tragedy, at least that I've experienced, than losing your only child to suicide. Especially when, he had so much to offer, and a lot of it based on stigma, stigma in the world. And instead of the blame game, the exercise of birdsong is to create something really, really powerful and really memorable, and something that has staying power. It has shelf life, right? Beyond
Mhm.
my life, beyond the next generation, where music ends up being this elixir for people that are really downtrodden. And
Yes.
it's a reminder to me sometimes, if I am feeling that kind of devastation, and we have all different, we all suffer from, depression, anxiety, bipolar, this and that, or you're just a normie, but, you're kind of being forced, you're being bullied, right, by the
Yep.
pandemic in some way,
Yes.
so for me, music is this incredible place to go, kind of like it's almost like entering in your home a new room you've never seen before, where you're
Wow.
leaving the house and you're walking into this room, and you're just feeling like a different energy field, right? Like you just
Yes.
and it can, and you always find music that will complement either your sadness or your hopefulness or your joy or your dance attitude.
It's
And
kind of it's kind
that's
of
a
funny
long
that
answer.
yeah, it's kind of funny that you say all of that though, because that kind of sums up the conversation we were having before you got
Oh,
here.
is that right? I had
It
no
really
idea.
does. It
Yes.
really does.
Well, it's a universal language, eh? It connects people.
Yes,
it
definitely.
completely and totally connects. And you see people that don't speak the same language, and musicians are like that, and even people that aren't musicians, but maybe they were musicians in a previous life. They just love
Yes.
music so much. There is just no way that they're not musicians. So it's almost, you have to, like, the kind of it's like the club mentality, this co-op is only for musicians. Well,
Mm,
no, this co-op has to be for artists and musicians. You know what I mean?
Everybody
Like,
can
it's
anybody can
like,
make music.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know people that don't play a musical instrument, but they're more musical than anybody I know, right? And
yeah.
they're more in that industry and more kind of you know, they're so it's so helpful to mental health. And people really, we forget how much people struggle, because it's hard to walk in somebody else's moccasins, right?
Yeah.
We only have our own shoes to walk in. We don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be you guys, right? And you
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to be me, but yet with
Mm,
music we can kind of like tap together.
yeah, I find and I do this all the time whenever I meet somebody new and we have a moment of time. I like to ask them like what's in their playlist, like what kind of songs they're listening to, because I find that I can tell a lot about a person based on what they listen to.
Mm,
And and I always try to pick a song that I never would have heard if it wasn't for that person to vibe to.
yes.
It's like in an exchange of an exchange of selves kind of thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, music is definitely a universal language that heals and allows for people to grow and develop together. I mean, I mean, there's so many people that, I mean, I met Jay through music. I met, I mean, I met Tracy through someone that I met through music. So,
And
Yeah.
we met
I,
yeah, and we met Margaret through music.
I met you through
Yeah,
music, exactly.
yay.
Because
Yeah. So
the first time we met her, she was with a
in
different
studio,
podcast in the studio with
yes,
I can't remember the engineer's name right now. I'm drawing a complete blank.
he was an English gentleman, was he not?
Yes. Who were you with? What? Oh my gosh. I feel
You
horrible.
were.
I usually remember this stuff, but anyways, it was we were hearing some of the music that wasn't released yet that you guys were working with in Songbird, and it was
Mhm,
great. Like it was very interesting conversations too. It was nice to
definitely.
get to know a lot, different sides of the industry and what people are trying to do for it.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
for sure. The genres are unbelievable. So while you got me here, I'm going to just do a quick plug for Birdsong Foundation.
Go ahead,
When
anytime.
I established this organization, I mean, I doubt myself, and I still doubt myself, but the universe has a way of picking up things, and it's as long as you like do the maintenance, you get disciplined and you just follow through, I guess is the word I'm searching for. If you do the follow through, then it's not up to you if something's going to be successful or not. I mean, but you have to do, the process, right? And the music industry, it's not the same as it used to be. So birdsong is kind of like a higher vibration in terms of music, and so it's not in any one genre. It can be folk music, and it can be heavy metal, it can be chant music, it doesn't matter. It can be from any country, any age group. But it has something to do with transformation from, because the music is written by people who tell their story about their mental health issues, and you know I can't stand using the word mental illness, right? The word illness right away suggests like you're in a different group that doesn't belong. Right away you're different than the rest of us, and that's what Birdsong wants to fight. That it's called, like, if you use drugs and it almost kills you like many times, you know, people kind of step in and say, we love you, but you have what's now called a substance use disorder. It's not that you're out of control, that you can't help yourself. It's that you have, something. We love you and we want to help you, right?
Mhm.
And, write some music. Tell us what that's all about. Tell us how we can help you to stay with us, And I wish so much that my son had, the chance to work with an organization like the one that I'm setting up, because it's really interesting that when people get honest with their own personal health problems, then all of a sudden there's like 100 other people saying, hey man, I got the same stuff going on,
Yep.
and some of it's pretty brutal, right? And you don't want to talk about it. But with birdsong, because it's music and because it's lyrics and because it's beautiful, there's something going on. And our first album, I wanted to release it a long time ago, but because of the pandemic, I'm going to wait till November. So just before the end of the year, we have 10 performers, all of them, no management. They've never, ever had a chance at music. They've tried and they have not succeeded often because of their mental health issues. And so we bring this person into a top studio and we get the top musicians out of whatever, right now I'm in Toronto. So from Toronto, and from the time the person comes in with their song idea, sometimes it's just like, they don't play the guitar, they just like hum it, right? And here's a handwritten lyric, to when it's finished. Oh my God. And you watch this musician just realize that they're really powerful in their, not only their messaging, but they're so gifted as composers, right?
That's
And
awesome.
when you hear this album, and there's 10 performers on it, never been published, and it'll come out with a small book, like a magazine, that explains who this person is, what they deal with in their lives, what's kept them on the planet, and their strength and hope, for the future. And I think it's gonna, like the music industry, they are interested in, because this is not mainstream, right?
No,
And
that's good.
but we're not gonna let any sleazy manager slip in and represent them, okay?
Well, the music industry
They
has
own their
changed so much
publishing,
now.
and then once they have that one or two songs, then Birdsong's going to help them put their own album out, right? You got to start somewhere, right?
Yep, that's great.
So that's really exciting. And for me, I miss my son so much. Like here's beautiful David. This is me and him in India. It's hard to see him here, but
there you go.
He was so gorgeous. He was tall, beautiful. He was gentle. Where I'm like, I can be a ball buster, right? Like I was an entertainment publicist in the 80s and 90s. I even did the Juno Awards, I mean, wow. I don't like that part of my personality, but I can access it when I have to like get, I have a goal and I got to deliver it through the goalposts. It's going to happen, right? But my son he was that gentle guy that was very affected by just everything, just even food.
A sympathetic soul.
And I know we all can relate to that because you might be that way yourself. I know I've become more that way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
especially now that I've had more time to like listen to myself kind of thing, or hear myself, because of like being inside so often. It's like, wow, I react to and relate to so many different things now. And it's because I've had a way to look at some of these circumstances and develop my mind in a better sense. So I can see like when I see someone is not in a good mood, it's like I often try to improve the state of their psychology, even if it's at my own expense sometimes. And like just knowing that I've put someone in a better place kind of helps me stay out of a dark place, kind of thing. So
it's kind of zen, right? Isn't it like a reflection board? It's almost like, you put a mirror on someone's face, right? So you're talking to them, but really you're seeing yourself, right? It's like, it's that whole namaste, I see the God in you, without being, like a religious fanatic of any sort, and I believe in a higher power of your own understanding. It might be a chair, right? It might be a car, or it's dog, right? I see God right there backwards, so it really is that, creative people are always saying, like, they put their hands up like that. They look up at the sky and they go like, why am I here? Right? Like,
Yeah.
hello,
Yep.
and like, why am I here and why am I living through this particular element of the world? And you study world history and you realize that you're actually in a little piece of history that's not as bad as other parts were.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mother went through Nazi Germany, right? Like, she was a war hero. She fought Nazis, for God's sake. She was 17 years old.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I mean, that's a whole other, podcast. But my mother's still alive, 95. She was the highest decorated soldier in the Second World War in
Bless
Poland,
her.
and
Bless her.
yeah,
Wow.
and my mother, like, literally takes no prisoners to this day.
Oh
She
my.
cuts through the craps, the fat so fast, but she doesn't have that sensitivity that, she loved David so much. I mean, I think the only time I've ever seen my mother cry was at his funeral, and because my mother's because it's old school, right? You hold all your
Mhm.
feelings in.
Stiff upper
But
lip and all that.
yeah, and we want to change that. Like, we want our men to cry.
Yeah.
We do. We want
It's
we want we want that emotion to be okay. You don't have to control it all the time, right?
I love this conversation because
Margaret's
like
great. I love
yeah,
Margaret.
I'm
She's an honest conversation, and
I'm sitting
it's
here
great.
and it's just like a lot of what we're saying. And so I'm looking at it this way. The two of us were talking, then Jay came in. Then the four of us started talking when Maggie came in. I'm gonna call you Maggie because I
Yeah,
don't like
sure.
I'm in
I
my
love
I'm
it.
in my suit and my button up, but I'm trying to be relaxed. So and then Maggie came in, but we're all talking about something very similar. So how many people outside of this conversation or even watching this conversation have been saying the same thing that we're saying? There is
Fallon's
hope.
been Fallon's been on here
Fallon,
commenting left,
yep,
right, and center, and she's another great
yep,
conversationalist about
yep.
this, and we've had many conversations with her too.
Yeah, so there's plenty of
We're all
people, I'm
saying,
sure.
why are we here?
Yeah,
It's so
and
true. Finding meaning, you have to find meaning here. And I loved what you said when you said that making somebody else feel better makes you feel better. And it's so true. I like to say a lot of an antidote to sadness is to do something nice for somebody, even if it's just checking in with someone or paying for someone's Timmy's, or
yeah,
can be an anecdote to any bad
Yeah.
feelings you're feeling.
If somebody's feeling bad,
All day
talk to them
long,
anyway.
and then the animal kingdom comes in. And, imagine a world where we even thought that fish had feelings, I mean, really, it sounds corny, but,
wow,
as you develop, I was lucky enough with my son when the Chinese opened the borders to Tibet, because I had at that point changed my career from entertainment television and documentary filmmaking into yoga studio ownership. And I was teaching. Anyways, long story short, any chance I got, my son was homeschooled because he couldn't do school, but he was Mensa smart. So I travel with him and I would, come up with an idea, and I'm an ideas type of person. And so when I heard, oh, the border's opening up in Tibet for Western tourism because of the Olympic Games, I said, David, guess where we're going? Where, Mom? We're going to Tibet. And we flew to India, and then we flew to Nepal. And we got on, you had to go with a Chinese, a couple of people in Jeeps, and they were our guide. So you had a Chinese guide. And what the Chinese had done is they paved all the roads into Tibet, and they pretty well repopulated Tibet, put Chinese people there because they stole the country, right? We know that story. But imagine this adventure with my son, traveling by Jeep from Kathmandu through the Himalayan mountains to Lhasa, and talking to the Buddhist monks and just seeing this other culture, other way of life that's got nothing to do with Western life, right? And seeing even these monks that are trapped in they're kind of imprisoned in their monasteries, still having this kind of connection with a higher power. And it's really easy when it's as beautiful as it is up in the mountains of Tibet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they don't think too much. And I think that's what I got out of that holiday more than anything, besides the hardship of being up 17,000 feet. You know, you can't breathe very well. But
Ooh.
was that there is this higher consciousness of different cultures where we can learn, you know, and from their music too. And you see those photos of those, you know, those long horns where they're like
Yeah.
three monks holding the horn, and it's like,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it just like you really, it's not the cliche of the heart opening. It's like your whole body's like vibrating from just down, right? And
Oh,
of course you're up 17,000 feet, so you don't have as much oxygen, so that's part of it. It's like, you know, you're breathing differently, so breathing has a lot to do with it, and the sound. And the thing is, like, a lot of these monks let go of the fact that they're kind of in captivity. They'd like life to be different, but it's not. And in a way, the pandemic has kind of put all of us in captivity too. But
yeah.
yet, here's our chance to find a way out of that depression that you feel somehow. And there's a toolbox of different things and methods, right? And for me, absolutely, is music, meditation, when I have the discipline. And I don't always have the discipline, right? But
Mhm.
I know that is like, that's really a way to go too. You know, it's breath work, right? And music is breath work too, if you think about
Yes.
it, right? Like, think
Yes.
about all the,
Music
you know,
for
like
me is my
trumpeters and
meditating, and
I was just about to say that. I have a
Yeah.
trumpet, and when I'm finished playing like a round, like a 15, 20, half an hour round, I feel so relaxed. It's like all of that pent up frustration has come out of me through the trumpet, and I've been able to make something melodious with it. And I can just, when I'm done, I just sit down and just like, so
I think we're onto
relaxing.
something here.
Yeah.
some of my best music I've written was when I was in a high state of crisis, I would call it. But by the time I was done playing and writing, I was back grounded, mellowed, relaxed, and released.
It is meditative. Focusing on
Mm-hmm.
something is meditative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Amazing.
amazing
Definitely.
how much it just grounds you, because you get focused. Everything
That's
else
right.
doesn't matter when you're focused on what something you love.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my
Oh,
goodness. And you know, I have to throw in lyrics, okay? The
okay.
power of the spoken word, you know, like, it's like my son used to say things like, he'd write songs like, for example, he wrote a song called Waterfall, and all in the whole song it's just listen to the sound. That's it. The whole song, listen to the sound. And it's music, but it's just the sound, you know. And some of that stuff he got from like meditation work and all of that, you know, kind of he was lucky in a way. He did travel as much as he did with me, and
Mm-hmm.
and that I was able to figure out how to do, you know, to be that kind of person that could offer that, right, as I educated myself. But um lyrics to me, like, Birdsong Foundation's idea is, it's not just the sound of the music, but it's the words in conjunction with, that the lyrics play as much of importance in a song, or lack of lyrics, right? Or the simplicity of listen to the sound, to take you into a different dimension. So musically, you're getting into a different dimension, you know, but you're also getting into a creative different dimension through the use of words. And I think that is super powerful, you know. And David, I noticed on your little magazine there, I was just
Mm-hmm.
thrilled to see that you have a lot of lyrics, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because too often in our new social media world, you know, we're scrolling. We got that cell phone, you know, and we're like boom, 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 you know. But
Yep.
imagine, okay, all of a sudden we get to your magazine and all it is lyrics. It's not a story necessarily that's a journalism piece about what's going on in Washington today, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just an awareness piece, a heart opening thing. It can be about violence or love or any or depression or suicide, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
or just, you know, being on your hands and fucking knees sometimes because you've been hurt so badly that you're not sure you're going to make it through the day, right? I mean, I've been there, and many people have. I'm not the
I've
only
been
one.
there more than once.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
me too.
Mm-hmm.
More than once I've been there. Actually, I'm very glad that David every month tries to take different poetry, lyrics, or everything. He puts a outlet every month for
Yep.
anybody.
Yep. I
I know
put
I've
out
been
like
blessed. I've been in it 3 times now. I feel blessed.
3. This is your 4th, isn't it?
Is it my
Like
4th? Yeah,
you've
I'm
been
in this
on the
month.
you've been on the back 3 times, but you've been on the inside. This is your first time on the inside, so people will get to see what you look like now. Uh, yeah, and that's this month I did okay, so last month April I did poetry. We did poetry for the month because it was the month of poetry, and I wanted to highlight, you know what I mean, different artists and their thoughts about, you know what I mean, aspects of life that they've encountered and they've overcome. So, and it's funny that you mentioned that because someone else, a friend of mine, he messaged me about one of the poems that he saw in there, the one written by Kyle Merrithew.
It was a very
He
good one.
he said that resonated with him. So like I'm just like by naturally, and this is the thing I like about the whole universal element that is in play here. I'm just doing what comes natural to me, and in hopes of furthering myself and those who I work with. And it is coming together much more effectively and much more fluidly now. So, again, on the 91st episode of Candid Conversations, I have to thank everybody here who's been a part of it. Liquid Fire Radio, I have to mention as well, because we will be syndicated on there. Shout out to Christy Hales doing her thing.
That's another place that she can send that album to, and she'll put it in regular
Yes.
rotation.
Oh yes,
for
when
you.
you have
100%.
when you have that album ready, you have an outlet here that you are more than welcome to come back to, and we can play that for you as
Those
well.
artists want to come on and feel comfortable talking, we'll
Yep.
gladly have them on
Yep. We have
anytime.
a set of shows, and we can make shows. If it's not on a scheduled day, we could create something around their schedule to highlight them too. So yeah, that's what we're in the business of, you know what I mean?
I
Getting
love
people to the
that.
next
You're in the
step.
business of telling stories too through
Yes.
music. Through music, you know, and it's like the lyrics tell the story through the music, you know, and you know, we're having like a very interesting and very important conversation that I think is very helpful to people to listen to because they can relate to what we're saying, you know.
Mhm.
I don't really know anyone that can't relate, you know. And if they can't relate, that's okay too.
If they
They'll
can't
relate
relate, they're lying to
down
themselves.
the road. They'll
If they
relate
can't,
down the road for sure,
if
right?
they can't relate, they're lying to themselves.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
can't. Exactly. And it's not a negative thing. It's just,
No.
you know, and I hate that cliche, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, how about when the teacher is ready, the student appears? You know, I mean, I
Mhm.
see the reverse,
Mhm.
you know, I see the reverse of absolutely everything. I think that, you know, like sound as well has a bounce, right? Like we don't
Yep.
just project out here, it comes back, you know. It is
Yes.
the yin and yang of it, except we haven't understood the yang because
Nope.
we're not, maybe, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm 1,000 years old because I do believe that there's something like how did I become this person who I am, right? Like you know, your body is kind of a roadmap, yeah, but how does your brain get like that? You know, how, you
Mhm.
know, you come up with concepts that you think like maybe you were born in some other century. And I know all of you can relate to that. You know, like, why do some topics that have got nothing to do with me are so important to me, right?
Yep.
Like,
It's that link
how did
between
that?
mind and DNA.
Yeah.
Your DNA
So-
has to have
so-
something that records in it that releases
That's
into your
right.
brain.
It
In
must.
my thoughts.
Yeah. There's gotta
That
be.
DNA is just like a tape recorder. It has to have some kind of memory of, you know, those
Well, there is,
generations
yeah.
before you.
Yeah, or you butt up with someone, you hardly speak their language, and they're like your sister, brother from another life. I mean, you're closer to them than you are to a sister, brother that you may have.
Mhm.
I mean, just like instant kind of like, it's almost like a star field, you know, and we're all made from star pieces and comets and chunks of that, and it's like a magnetic force. You meet someone and sometimes it's words they say, but they just touch up on your magnetic pull, and it's like, whoop, you know,
Yep.
you're like this with this person, you're like, what, how did that happen, you know?
I honestly, like, up until recently, I don't really know Jay from the Dark Side of the Moon. We just started working together, just like the way you described. It was like,
Yeah,
he was-
literally. Literally.
we were
in
at
a
the same
parking lot.
barbecue in a parking lot. Yeah, I was right here with one of my friends with LG, and we were barbecuing, and he was right here with Jesse from Slightly
Jesse.
Intoxicated,
And we were
they
talking
were
about Jamaican food and how I
talking about
grew up
Jamaican-
on it.
and then we just kind of went like this, and then crossed over, and then started working. It was
Yeah, you can't let them go, but you have to, right?
yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to let them breathe, but you don't want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you get into your own dysfunctional behavior, right? But the reality is that, you know, the human form that we've taken, yes, we are not our body, okay, we know all of that, but you know, why we get to talk and why we get to produce music and get new music out there that's never been written or heard before. I mean, this is a privileged little entity, right? That you know, that you're able to like nudge musicians. Birdsong wants to nudge. Like, I've got one Birdsong guy right now, he's trying to bail on me. He's like, he came in and, you know, he's a hip hop guy and this and that, and he's doesn't have any, you know, belief in himself. And it's like, I said, no, we're not bailing. No, you're not bailing. Okay, well, you're bailing. Okay, well, okay, promise to call me in a month, you know, maybe things will change. But you don't let people bail on life, you know, like you or music, or when you know it's their expression, you know it's in them so deeply, and for some reason there's some kind of blockage, right? So you try to help them. You can't do it for them, but you can certainly tell them you love them, and you can hug them, and you can tell them, you know, just keep. And you can bring them into a studio, and you can pay if you have a few bucks, you know. And at this point in my life, you know, I'm not rich, but I can't think of a better way to spend my money than on musicians to get them to really feel that power of their creation. And then, and how it affects other people, right? And it's not just about the creation and the ego and the id and me and look at me. It's more like, oh my God, look how people respond.
Yep, that's
have
a good reason to do it.
blast sitting in a room with a bunch of artists, and I'm not even gonna say musicians, just artists in general, and sitting down and actually making something from nothing. Like, there's a few artists that David's had through his studio when I'm there, and all of a sudden we start talking and we start bashing out ideas back and forth, where, like, I'm not a hip hop guy, but I enjoy the music, but we'll sit there and we'll make some hip hop, or we'll sit there and make some, you know, rock or metal or folk or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just happens, and there's no real push or pull. It just, here's the tools, let's see what we can do. It's the way artists are. It's weird. We're a strange breed in general.
They don't understand us. That's why they want to eliminate us.
And even artist to artist don't understand each other. Because there's so
no.
many variables in every artist that everyone's so unique in such a way that it's amazing that a lot of artists can sit in the same room for any length of time, honestly, and be able to put those differences aside and do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's all about self-expression, and it's art, right? It's we reflect our society and our point in history where we're born and we die. Because it's not just about birth, it's about death too,
Yeah.
And it's like a little dot, like on the on the universe, you're right, like right there. That you're part of that little piece. And music is something that is a higher entity. It is a higher vibration. It's not, instruments are made from wood and metal and plastic even, but it's all like, it all has,
Even
it's all
animals.
made within that container of the universe, right?
Well, yeah, I
And
think like it's
and so it vibrates within that. So it's almost like, if you have the gift to create, then it's a sacred role that you've been chosen. I sound bizarre, I'm sure, but
no, you don't.
I see the world
Mm,
it's almost like I've been through life and death experience so profound that it's almost like the concept of, when the astronaut flies out and goes, out into outer space for the first time and sees Mother Earth from a distance. They're never the same when they return to the earth. They can't be, because
mm, mm.
they see
A mask.
something that is, so they're not stuck in the forest for the trees. They see their life. They all have a spiritual kind of awakening of some sort, right?
Have to.
Because you can't, it's like you remove yourself from your mundane kind of regular life, and you see the bigger picture of why you're here, and in the very, very short period of time that you are here. And so music is like, wow, if you can create something of your generation, your, ability, and just get it out. And I think I'm all talked out, David.
Oh man. Honestly, I loved hearing all of it because I do most of the talking a lot of the time. So to have someone else like say so much along the lines of what I would say is
Or
awesome,
what we have
because
been saying.
and what we have been saying, what we've been doing, and it's like that's what I love about these conversations, because there's times where I think I'm the only person, and then I'll talk to someone else, and it's like, wait a minute, they're doing something, and it's even bigger than what I'm doing. I want to make my thing bigger so it can match theirs, and like let's do all the good we can together.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. The togetherness. That's it.
Yep, yep,
It takes a
yep.
village.
It
We can't
does.
exist alone.
Exactly.
We're not
No,
alone. It's
no.
like ET, right? We're not alone.
Yep,
No,
We're not.
no, we're
definitely.
not. And the only
Here
way
we
we get
are.
through it is with everybody else trying to lift
Well,
each other up.
I'm just, it's just been a pleasure to meet you folks. I mean, amazing. And check out birdsongfoundation.com. And, once we produce this album, so we have our 10 performers, then we hope to do a fundraiser, but we haven't even done that yet. And I don't like asking people for money.
Mm,
I'm not like a GoFundMe type person. I'm too
mm,
embarrassed to do that. So I'm not doing that. What we're going to do is sell albums, and then we're going to do live performance. I want to take I want to create a birdsong tour, and take 5 of these performers out of their comfort zone, and start small, do an Ontario tour, and have a lot to say through music, so it's not just an MC talking, it'll be a hip hop guy talking through the hip hop type of format into different incredible music genres and important stuff, and I think people will really relate to that, because the music is it's not fragile at all. It's really powerful. Like
Well, we were listening
It'll
to a
blow
bit of
your
it last time
mind how good
that
it
we
is.
had you
It's
on.
just, whoa, are you kidding me? You know, I can't
We were
believe
lis-
my own like luck in a way that I get to.
Mm-hmm. That's
I was
awesome.
hearing some of the music last time you were on, and there was some great music. Like it was awesome. Some of the stuff that you were playing behind the scenes, and then even the song that you played live.
Oh,
it
is
was
that
great.
right? You heard that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
I,
sweet.
I was the engineer that was in behind the scenes in that
Oh,
was
wow.
talking with you. Remember, we had the nice conversation
Oh,
about my
yeah.
daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I should send you a couple of the finished songs. Just
Send them to
it'll blow your
David
mind.
because David has a music show that happens on Saturday mornings where we
Yeah.
showcase artists and bands
Right.
and whatnot, and then
Yeah.
it also gets simulcast onto a internet radio worldwide
Right.
and everything.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
do that with all these performers. I mean, you know, some of the song titles, like one of them is called Spiritual Drink Machine by
Okay.
a young man who he was a university professor, and he shares the fact that he has schizophrenia, and he's a musician, but you know, he's never had the kind of, he's played in a few bands and stuff like that. He's from Ottawa, and he just, I guess he said it never occurred to him, and he didn't think he didn't have the belief in himself. And you know, and he was a very close friend of my son David, and so, you know, he was a shoe-in for the grant, and he came up with like one song. You could do a Broadway play on Spiritual Drink Machines. I mean, the way this guy thinks, I mean, we've got like a choir in it, you know. I mean, it is a big sound. I mean, I couldn't even afford to produce it like exactly the way, you know, you could do it on Broadway, but it's incredible, like big kind of story, you know. And it's the story of the drink machines, you know, the musician dies and he's at the pearly gates, and he's trying to get into heaven, and they won't let him, the doors are locked forever, they won't let him in anymore because there's corruption up in heaven, and so the spiritual drink machines don't work anymore. And it is like, whoa, like the whole story is like of the government, you know, it's going on in you know, in the United States, with what was going on with Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just like, you know, creative people have such an ability to in like in one song, this guy can just like, you know, cut through so many layers of creativity, and everyone, you know, you could examine that song, you know, of course he's got a couple of PhDs too, but you could write PhD papers just based on this one song.
Wow.
And then, but that's his song, right? And then another song would be like, I've got a guy who is from Ghana, Africa, and he's been in Canada for 12 years. And
Okay.
they all share, you know, in their, you know, he deals with anxiety, depression, a lot of that kind of stuff, a new immigrant, small family, just all that stuff. And he was actually, he had a little bit of success as a hip hop artist in Africa, but he stopped performing for 10 years. He had just a tiny little bit of success, and he's just kind of broken down, and he came across Birdsong, and it was like, come on, man.
Yeah,
You got a
that's
story
good.
to tell us, right? I
That's
mean, like, what's it
awesome.
like to be in Canada, right? Like, let's do it. And it's beautiful. The song, he's kind of created a new music. It's not straightforward hip hop. It's kind of a really emotional piece about self-esteem, and about, you know, how you'll have to hear it to believe it anyway. So it goes on and on and on like that.
Nice, nice. So we got 10 artists on a compilation CD brought to you by the Birdsong Foundation. We look forward to hearing that.
Definitely.
Tracy,
Yes.
how are you doing up there? You've been quiet for a bit. You know what was tripping me out? Your dog was looking at diagonally down towards Maggie the whole time she was talking.
You know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I'm telling you, she watches people and she's part of the conversation.
Yeah,
I
like
have
she's
a real Love of animals. Yeah.
Like she's literally looking in the direction of whoever's talking. That is
I
great.
know.
It could be the fabric, the polka dots or something, right?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Oh, okay. Jay,
Yeah, it's
I
true.
know
Look
you
at
want to
that.
say something. What's up?
Oh, I'm always amazed. Like since the last time we talked to Maggie, and this time, like her story is great.
Mhm.
And I know she hasn't gotten into it as deeply as she did last time. I do know her story, and I've heard it, and it's like she's an amazing person, really.
Yes,
What
Aw,
she
thank
does
definitely.
with
you.
for music, general, just the people that industry won't look at, she will take and push to make sure that they do get heard and
Absolutely.
they do something. And for taking somebody out of their comfort zone, you can't take a musician out of their comfort zone because they're doing it. That means they're comfortable with it. No matter
Mhm.
how much it feels like you're pushing them, they're doing it because they want to, and you're helping them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not
Sometimes they need that push.
yeah, you're
So.
not taking them out of an element. You're just making sure that they know they belong there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's great. It's amazing. Like that's for what the last time
No, I
when I talked
totally
to
vibe
you,
with you.
yeah, like what
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
went through and what your story is and what you do now is amazing. It truly is.
You're gonna make me cry, and that's a good thing. Because
No,
I
Oh.
do doubt myself sometimes, because this pandemic's also like stalled everything for me. And
Yep.
it's like, come on, let's go. But we're still going we're still in production, even though we're locked down. And
Yep.
we're, following the guidelines. Like we don't have 5 people in the studio. We bring one musician in at a time. But nonetheless, it's a grueling process. But yet, I have to, and your comments just reinforce that, just keep going. Don't,
Yep.
I don't give up. I'm not that sort of, that type of person, even though giving up sometimes, like, like it's okay for people to give up, right? This is another thing I've learned is that, we don't know what it's like, right? Like some people need to like take a
Sometimes
break
it's good to
sometimes.
fail. Sometimes it's good to fail
Yeah,
because then you
but don't
learn
leave
how
us.
to no,
Don't leave
no,
us, like don't
No.
leave us. Don't leave this life
Yeah.
no.
before
You can always
don't
climb
end
back
your
up.
life, and it's you can't stop people from doing that, but you can keep challenging them that
To
keep
live their best
reinforcing the
life.
fact that, it can get better than it is right now. It can get better. Don't leave us. We need you.
Yeah.
We need to go through this together. We'll be gone before you know it. Just hang
Yep.
in. Hang in every day, one day at a time, one
Well,
moment at a
One
time.
day at a.
we're on
Yeah.
the wheel of fortune. We're not always
Yeah.
up and we're not always down,
It's always moving.
Yeah. It's always moving,
And I
fluctuating.
really vibed with you, Maggie. Like I loved
Oh,
your, yeah.
Oh, you're such
She's
a
no,
got
sweetheart.
such she's got such
she is a
positive
very
energy.
yeah.
She's
She's a very a
definitely like
beautiful
good
soul is
people.
the word that comes to my mind. And like I said, this
You're
is the
speaking
second.
about past lives and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah.
This
Yep.
is my
Wait till
second
this album
conversation
comes
with
out.
her.
Oh my
It's been
God.
great.
We're going to be so proud of these
I'm
people.
excited.
Yep.
Oh, I'm
I'm really
excited about that.
excited.
Like, and I'm learning how to do it too. It's a different industry than, when you used to launch things through record labels and buy paid
Yeah.
programming and this and that. It's a whole other world. It's
Yeah.
podcasting. It's awareness. It's you just have to get in the trenches and do it,
They've made
and
it they've made it so the individual artist can actually do all of the things that the record label used to do for them. And if you tap into it, like things like DistroKid and Spotify, they help. Well, not so much. Well, Spotify plays the music, but the rate of return isn't the greatest. But like Bandcamp, things like that, there's a lot of outlets out there that are available to distribute the
And it's
music.
actually very easy
yes,
for a musician to start up and do their own thing. If 1/3 of my bedroom is a studio, like as you see behind my heads, there's guitars all
mm-hmm.
around me on my
Yeah.
walls. Behind the camera I'm looking at, I have a wall of amps that are sitting here and all
Yeah,
sorts of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
my studio's
And
there's
downstairs.
yeah.
well, the exciting thing too is it's like it's kind of like birdsong as well, along with other kindred spirits. It's kind of like doing it against the labels. It's like because the musician should own 100% copyright of their own work, and it's like as I'm learning how to do it through different co-ops that are already doing, personal releasing of their music, then we can share that well. We will like expose it, share it. Why shouldn't? It's a new world. You don't need to necessarily spend money on a publicist, for example. Um, there's different ways, or if you can afford it, do it. Or someone that's socially media savvy, I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do, that's for sure, but I'll learn to do it, and I'll do it well, and I'll find a team that does it better, and I'll copy them, and I'll learn how to do it for the Birdsong Foundation, and 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 that's the way it works. It's a whole new world out there. So it in that sense, it's daunting and exciting, right?
Yeah. The the challenges life offers and the rewards that it
Yeah.
presents. Yeah. Oh
I
man,
would
this has been great.
gladly to play the music anytime.
Yeah.
Like,
So when you have it and you want to forward it to me, there's the email address right there. It's on the bottom. And yeah, I open the door to anybody who's making music. If you'd like to forward me a sample with some info about the artist, you can send it to exposethenorth@gmail.com. Yeah, for consideration
we've
for
come
the Terrell
across quite a
effect.
few bands that we fell in love with and that are just doing it on their own and whatnot. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so much better nowadays than it was 30 years ago to try and
For
do
sure. It's not a cartel anymore.
Yeah.
The literary world was like that too. As much as I love Margaret Atwood, she's not the only good writer in the world, right?
Mm-mm.
Seriously, and yeah, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But you know what? Like, let's give other people a chance too. You can't just stitch it up, and it's kind of not fair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a
Actually,
good
we have a
person
guest.
and you're brilliant, and it's easy for you to be like your stars lined up, and you had a lot of luck and blah 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 blah, then you would think that it's your turn to pull other people up, like push people up, help them up a little bit, right? Like
Yes,
That's
yes.
Saturday we
right.
have a
society
really
needs that.
Saturday we
Yeah,
have a really good
instead of
poet coming on.
Oh
going
yes,
to those
memoirs of a
cocktail
mustache.
parties in the 80s, and you talk to someone who's, you're trying to talk to them, they're already looking around to find somebody more important to talk to. It had nothing to do with you. It's just you weren't as big of a fish as they were wanted to fry that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that kind of social climbing, Birdsong doesn't do any of that. We're not into that. We'll do it really well if we have to, but everyone is on the same level playing field, right? And sometimes you meet really major stars, big stars that are not egocentric and not egotistical, that really do help people climb up,
Mm-hmm.
and we've all heard of those musicians that are just doing remarkable work, like Eric
Hmm.
Clapton's one of them, for example. He works with a lot of people that deal with substance use disorder, because he admits that he had it. And when his child died, remember that
Yeah.
Lay
Tears in
After
Heaven.
Yes,
Layla,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Tears
Tears in
for
Heaven.
Heaven.
Yeah.
That song came out for his child, right? And we don't need to go into the details of how that happened, but that changed his life, and that he went right into cleaning up his act, and all of a sudden he donates an awful lot to a recovery center that he works with, that he
Beauty
helps
can come
people
from
for
tragedy.
free. Yeah, so he's like a Birdsong supporter, right? And once we get established in Canada, then it's a concept that needs to go everywhere. I mean, we're in a very rich society, even though there's a lot of people here that are below the poverty line, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. You can't fix all the problems of the world, but you can keep talking the kind of sharing concepts and the loving concepts and the compassion concepts, and they do impact people, you know, and they do affect people. And I guess I didn't finish talking, David.
Like I said, you can.
Is this a wrap?
Like I said, beauty can come from disaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something beautiful.
And a
can
lot of
come-
times it does.
Yep. That's what keeps building us up.
Absolutely.
What's the
Yep.
name of your dog?
So this is Fancy Hopper Rose.
Puppies.
And if I put her down, she will bark her head off. So I'm just kind of
Yeah,
Cool.
no, she adds a lot to the podcast for sure.
She's
Chihuahuas.
such
They're
a-
extremely. They're the cat of the dog world.
I say she's a cat all the time, which works for me because, you know, we've talked, but I love cats. So
Yeah. Chihuahuas want attention when they want it.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
They truly do.
So David, do you have any more questions for Birdsong Foundation or anything else? Or
I just wanted to coordinate another time, if not, probably next month.
sure,
Not this month's issue, but another time to like,
absolutely.
you know, talk to you a bit more, and then you know, stay
I'd
up to
love
date
to.
with what you're doing.
Okay, that sounds great. Because we're just finishing up with one of our artists here, a hip hop artist here in Toronto. But then I'm going to Ottawa, and we're dealing with a guy over there. His name is Matthew Johnson, and again, he likes to talk about his issues, but he's also deals with schizophrenia. Okay, so.
Okay.
And listen to this, he's got a PhD as well.
Wow.
we're smart.
Hello.
Yeah,
These are
yeah,
really smart people
definitely.
and so gifted, except that his music, it's kind of like, you know, when you listen to music and you're trying to like, oh, which genre is it? Is it this? And then you're like, no, it's new music. But then it's like, well, what is this music, right? So I listen to his music, and he uses his guitar as a therapy weapon.
Oh,
Wow.
I
that's
know,
clever.
and he has, and like people like tune out because it's like it's heavy metal beyond heavy metal, right? So what we've done in Ottawa is we've created a group of musicians. There's 5 of them, including some professional musicians who've been playing in bands in Ottawa for years, and they're a panel. So Matthew gets to play his music, and everyone says, hey, you know, they like we're creating like a music community where nobody criticizes or anything, but says, you know, let's try it like this in this key, or let me jam with you, and this has been going on for the last couple of months. So Matthew Johnson is going to go into the studio with his unpolished song, right?
Okay.
And it's gonna be wild.
Can't wait to hear
metal.
it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite genres.
Yeah. So, what are those bands called that move their hair around all the time?
Headbangers?
The long hair, and they're like
Headbangers,
Headbangers,
metal
yeah.
heads,
headbangers.
yeah.
It's a cross
Yeah.
between headbanger and heavy metal, and maybe even folk. Try
Really?
that on for size.
Wow.
One of my favorite bands is actually a folk Viking metal band.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
What are they?
The-
What are they called?
what's the name?
Proto-Cult.
Very
Okay.
interesting.
Proto-Cult.
Very interesting.
Okay, I'll have to check them out. I'm such a music
They call
fan.
themselves like Viking drinking music. It has
Okay,
like
okay,
it has
okay,
like a
okay.
folkish vibe to it. It's great music. My daughter really loves
Okay,
it.
cool.
Mhm.
I'm all up for new music.
Oh, then
Well,
you need to
nothing
listen to
like
the
it.
Terrell Effect.
Oh yeah.
It's new?
The Terrell Effect. That's my show on Saturdays where I play some of the latest from the soon to be greatest. I mean, Last week we had Junior Barclay and Lizzie Dredd and Janet Genius on there. They played some new music from the islands. Next week we have another guest on. Let me see who it is. Next week we have Tech Pesos, or this week, sorry, we have Tech Pesos on. He's an artist from New York. Excuse me. And I've been working with him for the last few years. We have a collaboration. He's got a few things in the works, so it's gonna be interesting to touch base with him.
We got Die Another Day coming up.
Die Another Day coming in a couple of weeks. They're metal band, heavy metal.
Yeah, then we always have
metal.
Effects May Vary all the time. They're a great band. Dispel from Cleveland. Johnny Armani. He's an American that's in here. Big Joe out of
Brampton,
out of the GTA area.
Yeah. So we got I'm gonna have oh man, the usual suspects I'm gonna have on in a couple of weeks, as well as Black Orchid the following week. Check out Play My Song live every Tuesday at 7:30. Add at private name _ private number for a chance to see some of the seasoned and up and coming artists playing their music for, the new crowd. So
and very hopefully soon some Songbird.
I'll definitely check that out.
Some Birdsong Foundation music.
Sure.
It would be an honor.
We're going to be joining you guys with this music. I'm telling you, and every one of those songs has such a story.
It would be an honor.
But doesn't every one of your songs have such a story?
Definitely.
I actually have music coming out by the end of May, middle of June.
Great.
I'm working with a couple of artists from Newmarket, a couple of guys from Cleveland. Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
It's great on the people that we've been able to get a hold of or talk to and have on the show, like you guys. It's just, let it be about music. Let it be about just, what people feel or,
Yes. Transformation.
Honest conversation is lost and it needs to come back.
Moment to moment to moment, right?
That's where we get candid conversations. I'm telling you.
That's right. We're 1 hour older.
Yep.
Well, I always say that being
and 1 hour better.
Yes, indeed. Oh man.
And our heart is open.
I love it. I love the energy.
Everybody make that phone call. 1 phone call a day to someone you think could use a phone call. Just 1 a day. And make it 2-3 minutes long. That's it. That's it.
True.
That's all Birdsong Foundation wants to say is make that phone call today. Someone not necessarily you enjoy talking to, but it's someone that wants to hear your voice.
Yep. That's awesome. You know what? Let us close it on that note. This has been great. I want to invite you both out again to have another conversation anytime.
I would love to.
All right, excellent. This has been Candid Conversations, episode 91. Yes, use your voice. That is a beautiful message that you have there. The Birdsong Foundation, Tracy Cunningham, DUI, and yours truly, The Block, telling y'all, use your voice and be nice to others.